Alright guys, Noah here with CustomRCMods. Welcome back to the channel. Today's Saturday, which means that there's soccer games going on at the park, so we're at an alternative filming location, and I've got the Ready-Made RC Mini Recruit right here. Of course, this is a smaller version of their larger Recruit, which is a very nice, solid FPV platform. So the mini version actually went on sale about a year and a half ago, and I happened to pick one up, and it was a good wing for a little bit until I ran into some issues when the flight stabilizer died, and I just could not get it to fly. Tried all sorts of CG and rate combinations, but nothing was working until I just happened to pick up another flight controller in the past month or so, and this thing has been flying great since. So I have had a rocky road with it, and you'll see that in some of my past videos, but it really needs a stabilizer, and once you got that in there, it flies great. I'll just go ahead and talk about the other electronics I have on this plane here. Of course, I've got two 9-gram servos and the 1806 2400 kV motor pushing a 5x4 prop, and that is hooked up to a 30 amp ESC here, and of course all that goes into the flight stabilizer. And I've got a Spectrum satellite mounted right up here in the mid by the motor right there, the fuselage, and so we are good to go. I really like how that can plug directly into the stabilizer and you don't need a big bulky PWM receiver. All that is powered by, of course, the Tattoo 1300 milliamp hour 45C 3-cell battery, and it's nice. We got a lot of space in here. We could fit a big battery in a plane that usually probably would carry more like an 850 or a 550 or something like that. So really like that for extended flight times. Finally, I do have an FPV setup on board. We're not going to be taking advantage of it today, but it is a little 200 milliwatt micro all-in-one transmitter that I got off Amazon, and that plugs directly into the aileron port here, which just provides power to it, 5 volts. Pretty typical and easy. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and fire up my radio. We got it all good to go, CG tested. We're gonna get it out for a flight. All right, so here we are. Here's the location. It's not as big. We do have a walking path over there, and we have some baseball diamonds over there, so there could be people around. However, right now it's completely vacant. Weather's good, basically no wind, but it's coming a little bit from left to right across the screen. Do one final CG check. Looks like we're good to go. I'm gonna throw this thing in a launch mode, and as you can see right here, once we activate the throttle, I can just go ahead and throw this, and you can see hands off just like that. We're good to go. But this thing obviously is pretty fast, so got to get back control of it. So yeah, this is a fun little wing. It isn't as fast as some of my other wings, obviously, because it's smaller and it has a smaller motor on it because of that. So we're not pushing a high speed envelope here, but still performs very respectably. Now, I have the acro stabilized mode on right now. I believe that's like 3-axis stabilization, so it is assisting me in the winds here, but it's not necessary, and I've actually found that that can easily hinder your flight performance, especially if you're trying to do rolls and loops and stuff like that, where the stabilizer tends to freak out a little bit. But you can see it kind of did an off-axis roll there. Now, as typical with a lot of the ready-made RC planes, pretty much every single one I've tested, this thing flies amazingly. They've got the aerodynamics down to a T here. You can see I've been off the throttle all the way since before that turn, and this thing barely drops a wing or anything like that. Friendly stall characteristics, but also has a great glide slope, which is awesome. Well behaved. All these stock rates on this, I'm just running 100% rate, just as recommended by the manufacturer. It's just set up really well. You know, you have your good mix of wanting that roll rate, but also being able to stay smooth, especially if you're flying FPV with this thing. But I would say we're in 10-mile-per-hour winds right now that it's starting to gust a little bit, and we have plenty of authority, and it's tracking pretty darn straight. You can even do inverted if you want, but that's kind of pointless with wings. You do have that down elevator throw, which I've seen a lot of wings set up with just up elevator, because not really many people who go, you know, down on wings need that down elevator. But yeah, it just tracks around the sky very, very nicely. to a downwind high-speed pass. Of course, I got the road right there, so I can only hold it for just a second after I get past myself. Let's do another one. And again, that's downwind, so you get the wind pushing on the back of the plane and bobbling it around. So it's definitely very, very well behaved for what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and flick it into manual mode. And already I can feel it getting a little bit more tossed around, so I do like having that acro 3-axis stabilization mode. Still flies respectably, but certainly it's just a little bit less smooth. And no matter your skill level, that 3-axis stabilization can only help. It's not going to hinder you in many ways that would be applicable to a wing at least. But you can see it's just not quite as straight. It doesn't hold itself on rails as nicely as with that 3-axis stabilization. And if you're wondering, there is no self-leveling mode on this plane. That's just the launch mode that we tested out in the beginning. And I'm actually going to go ahead and do one more circle and land, and I'll show you that again, because that is a pretty remarkable technology that they have on this ready to go. You don't even have to tune it for the plane or the battery. It just works really well straight out of the gate, gives you just the right amount of altitude gain, and of course you set the throttle. So yeah, let's go ahead, bring it around. I'm just going to keep it low here and bring it right towards myself to land it. Now again, we have a really good glide slope on here, so it's not, kind of just got to set it down. See, gliding past myself there. I'm going to flick it into launch mode, which lowers my rates a little bit. Alright, so now we're in launch mode, and as you can see when you flip it over, the ailerons are trying to bring you back to level flight here. They're fighting against one another to go ahead and bring it back to straight and level. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it up to full power and give it a chuck into the wind the best I can, about 45 degrees or so, and it'll go ahead and climb right out of it. Hands off. Just like that. Haven't touched it, haven't touched it, haven't touched it, and now I have to touch it. So back up in the air just like that. No tuning required, which is amazing. Something truly unique about this style of flight control. I'm not totally sure if this is technology they develop or just adapted for their use on their own board, but it works really well. And I don't know if you can hear, but the winds are picking up. This is crazy out here. Definitely not the conditions you typically want to fly an RC airplane in, but because again, this is so aerodynamic and it has the benefit of flight stabilization, it flies really, really well, even in wind. Yeah, this is going to be a really solid FPV platform if that's what you're into. Unfortunately, it's not going to fit any DJI equipment, and that's really what I like to do. So this probably won't become much of an FPV setup for me because I don't like flying analog anymore. DJI has kind of brainwashed me. But either way, this is still a really fun plane to fly line of sight and performs very respectfully. One thing that I've seen in comparison to wings without flight controllers or just foam board wings in general that I'm more used to flying, like the FT Aero or the FT Versa wing, maybe the FT Spear, is that this thing, you can just go ahead and point and shoot with it. You don't have to constantly be correcting or getting hit around in the wind. That's the nice thing about the 3-axis stabilization, is that it's not going to bring you back to level, but it will correct for you. So if you get blown off to the side in the wind, it's going to bring it back to you, so you can just go ahead and point and shoot with it, and you don't have to make any other adjustments. So there is a biker on the path there. I'm going to try to stay clear of the path. Don't want to fly over him. You see, it's still a very maneuverable wing, and a lot of times what happens on wings with flight controllers is you lose a lot of that rate and you lose a lot of the authority, because your flight controller is always kind of double checking every single one of your movements, which kind of makes you feel like the flight controller is the middleman and it's giving you less authority over the airplane, if that makes sense. But that's not the case with this thing. You can still be just as aerobatic as you want to be. Have great performance, flight controller assisted with this plane. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and bring it in for a landing. We're probably about 75% of the way through the battery, but I haven't really tested my timers out too much, so I'm not going to, chance that too much. There we are, right at my feet. Look at that, guys. So that's going to wrap it up for my video here on the Ready-Made RC Mini Recruit. If you want some more content with this, I'd be happy to bring that to you. Make sure to go ahead and leave a comment if you have any questions on this plane or anything in RC in general. Thanks for watching. As always, guys, feel free to like, subscribe to the channel. Your support really means a lot to me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.